Hi, I'm Marty Nemco. This is kind of an un-MBA for entrepreneurs, would-be entrepreneurs, or self-employed people. Um, so much of what gets taught in an MBA program is designed for people who can work in large corporations, perhaps being entrepreneurial. But for the person who's the typical person who wants to start a one or a few person business, I think very often the opposite of what's taught in the MBA programs is wiser. Um, MBA programs teach you to innovate, and instead I teach you to replicate because there's too much that can go wrong when you innovate. Uh, there's a lot of development costs. If it's a new product, you have to educate the market. If it's really that good, you can get swallowed up by a bigger fish. Better to take a product or service that's done well and either do it in a different location, um, market a little better, do it a little less expensively, although you don't want to compete on price because that's usually a race to the bottom. Uh, but I like to use as examples. I'll give examples later, but replicate rather than innovate. Second, keep it really simple. The more moving parts, the more they go wrong. And usually people starting out don't have deep pockets, and every mistake is going to cost you money. And if you start to run out of money um, before you get profitable, you're dead. So it's got to keep it simple, small moving parts, few moving parts. Also, you want to really minimize costs at every step of the way. If possible, work at home. Um, don't do as little hiring as possible, um, and where possible, buy low. Uh, so now with those as kind of general watchwords, replicating, keeping it simple, and really minimizing your costs. Here is a kind of example. I always like to use this example of the kind of business that I like. Um, and I always choose also low status business because therefore you're not competing with people who are really that smart in general. Um, you, if you go for status and you go biotech, high tech, uh, anything cool, innovations, you're competing with smart people, and there's nothing statusy about going out of business. So I'd much rather compete in an arena where my competition isn't that tough. And so an example I like to use is a shoe shine stand, or eventually a small chain of shoe shine stands, um, or flowers, in uh, little stand. And again, location is critical. Again, meaning that every time you always hear the three most important things in a business are location, location, location. That's certainly true here. So let's take the flower stand example. I don't like food businesses because there's so many regulations. But flowers that are located in a good downtown area near a major mass transit station or near a huge high rise or something like that, or even in the lobby of a very big high rise, which avoids the weather problem. And sometimes, if you're really dogged, you can convince some building manager to let you be there for free by arguing that you are giving an excellent service for all the tenants and people who go to this building, and it's not costing the building owner a dime. You're taking some little unused corner of the building lobby. There's a good example of minimizing costs. It's that kind of out of the box thinking that's very helpful. And again, flowers are great because it's not an innovation. Nobody's going to take you over. It's not trendy. It's not going to go out of style. It's always in style. Yes, you've got to learn to, you'll very quickly learn how much to buy so you're not ending up with a bunch of dead flowers that you've paid for. It's a simple business. There's less to go wrong. That's the kind of business I really like. Um, once you should run the first one yourself so that you can learn all the little intricacies of the business. By the way, I've jumped ahead of myself a little bit. If you like an idea like that, and the beauty of retail is you can see the competition. If it's a business to business business, everything is behind closed door in an office building. Where if it's retail, you get to see everything. So what I would be doing is I'd go to Yelp and I would look for the top rated flower stands in my geographic area. And I would go and I would watch. I'd be like a detective. I'd see How are they pricing? How are things organized? How do they ergonomically, how do they arrange the, do they wrap and rewrap the flowers? Pricing, everything. And I would take the best ideas that I found from the half dozen top rated flower stands and incorporate them into mine. Made sure I had a great location. And I don't try to compete on price. I don't want to be the most expensive, but I don't want to be the cheapest. I'm going to be a little bit above average. Um, but I'm going to provide good quality, and I'm really going to provide just that nice friendly touch that makes people feel welcome. And after I've run the first one and learned all the intricacies of how to run one, having incorporated all the best ideas from everybody else, from the top Yelp reviewed flower stands, I would set up one myself to run myself. I'm no carpenter, but I have some carpenter build it in the perfect location, and I would staff it myself for the first month so I could learn all the little intricacies, and then I'd keep refining it. And once I had it really humming, I would then find a trusted friend, relative, or whatever. Probably not a stranger, especially because it's cash business and there's a lot of employee theft. Somebody I could really trust, and I would have that person run the stand, treat them very well so they wouldn't be tempted to steal, and just for good vibes and being a good person. And then I would go look for another location and I would clone that. And I'd keep cloning them until I was making 200,000 a year. But then I wouldn't get piggy, because you get much bigger than that. Probably each flower stand might net me 30,000 net a year. So maybe I need a half a dozen flower stands. But after that, I'm not going to try to get too big, because then the quality goes down and my life is swallowed up by it. I want to make 200 grand a year ethically, and then it's very non-statusy, but it really incorporates what really works in small businesses. You're replicating rather than innovating, so you're not having that risk. It's very simple. There aren't a lot of moving parts. There's minimal startup costs. There's no big, ovens and technological equipment. It's simple. Of course, you need to make sure, by the way, that you are finding the best place to source your flowers and negotiate. There's usually rarely one price. You want to get as good a price as you can, consistent with quality. And as I said, don't be greedy. Treat your workers well, pay them well, treat them as a human being. Price just on the high side of fair, and then don't get too big, just enough to make 200 grand, which is plenty. If you're not a pig financially, you're going to lose a lot in taxes, but that's enough to live quite well. Anyway, those are my thoughts on how to be what I call low risk, high payoff self-employment, kind of the opposite of an MBA. I call it an MBA. Anyway, these tips come from my new book, Careers for Dummies. And I thank you for watching. I'm Marty Nemko.